Okay, so we covered tense through activities, and now we have a quick lesson on phrases and clauses. The phrase and the clause, you've already learned about them. The clause is a grouping of words with a subject and a verb, whereas the phrase is a grouping of words without a subject or a verb. So why is this important? And to me, it's important because knowledge of phrases and clauses helps you to avoid sentence fragments and also run-on sentences. Now, sentence fragment is it's another word for a dependent clause or a phrase, essentially. But it's quite often in Canadian universities to hear sentence fragment, and it's a mistake that you really want to avoid. So clauses, you can have an independent clause, which is a grouping of words with a subject and a predicate, which makes a complete thought. And you can have an example of that would be Violet brought the pizza. Okay, Violet's the subject, brought is the verb, and pizza is the object. You can also have dependent clauses, which are a grouping of words with a subject and a verb, but dependent clauses do not make a complete thought. And there are usually certain words which indicate that it's going to be a dependent clause. You have words like when and why. We also use the example of because. Okay, you can see that in my note I have when and why if not used in a direct question, because you can ask direct questions with when and why at the beginning, and those are fine. Here's an example of a dependent clause: when she walked in the door. So this clause is a fragment if it's not connected to an independent clause. However, if you do connect it to an independent clause, then you have a complete sentence. Here's an example: Violet brought the pizza when she walked in the door. Okay, what is a sentence fragment? A sentence, a complete sentence, is a statement that can stand independently and it makes sense. Here's an example: William was a great writer until the day he died. A fragment is a dependent clause or a phrase that has been broken off from the main clause, and usually for dramatic purposes. So here's an example of something that many students actually do, believe it or not. William was a great writer, period, until the day that he died. Okay, and you can see that until the day that he died is probably done for dramatic purposes, so that it sounds more emotional, but technically it is an error, so you should avoid it. So a fragment might also be a phrase. Phrases. Here are some examples of phrases. Make coffee is a verb phrase. The sad clown is a noun phrase. Extremely happy is an adjective phrase. Very quickly is an adverb phrase. After supper is a preposition phrase. And you need to note that each one lacks a word or words that would make them an independent clause. Now, for me, I do not want you to worry about knowing verb, noun, adjective, adverb, or preposition phrase. I think the really important thing at our level for this class is just to have a knowledge of the differences between phrases and clauses. So our activity is going to be to turn phrases into sentences. So I've taken those different phrases and I turned them into a sentence. Well, I turned them into two sentences. After supper, the sad clown makes coffee. He drinks it very quickly and becomes extremely happy. Okay, so that's not the best sentence that has ever been written, but the important thing to note is that it's not a fragment. Okay, so even though it might not be the best sentence ever, it is technically correct. Here are a few more phrases, and your activity for clauses and phrases was to turn each one of them into a sentence. So you have a noun phrase with the lonely fisherman, you have an adjective phrase with extremely intelligent, you have a verb phrase with shouldn't have been eating, you have an adverb phrase with much too quickly, and you have a preposition phrase with after class. Okay, that's it for phrases and clauses, and we'll move on to some more interesting stuff. Okay, thank you.